elevation. We hunt and we hungry, we salivating, turning nothing to something and celebrating. Markets changing, recalibrating. The first to get acclimated is the first to stack the payments, but you need to act with patience, but be careful waiting, cause this opportunity won't last forever before it is evaporated. So if you want to flip some houses, hit me up to make a plan. Your flip deserves the upper hand.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Raising the Flipping Bar. I'm your host, Derek Marlin, and I want to ask you a question. Would you rather work 60, 70, maybe even as much as 80 hours a week, but have a good shot if things go well to make 7 figures a year, maybe even 8 figures a year? Or would you rather work 10, 20, maybe 30 hours, hopefully at most, and make a couple $100,000 a year? That's a question we're going to explore in today's episode. As we jump in, I really want to think about and kind of talk about where we've gone with elevation and really pose a question to you, the listener and the audience out there. Are you leaning into building a lifestyle business, or are you leaning into just super straight growth mode? And this has been something that's been on my mind. So really, since I started Elevation, we've been pretty much obsessed with growth. And I think of the book 10X is easier than 2X, thinking kind of 10 times as large, thinking about more business verticals, thinking about a bigger team, thinking about a bigger vision. And then I started recently reading a book earlier this week, and it got me thinking, well, what if bigger isn't always better? What if the real goal isn't to scale? What if there's some sort of, I hate to use the term financial freedom because I don't love that term, but maybe just flexibility in your business, flexibility in your life. And it kind of came me to thinking of today's episode, which is let's talk about the two paths that a lot of people seem to go down. And more importantly, what planning can you put in place so that you can be going down the road that you actually want to go down to? And I think the big kind of, misconception is a lot of people don't define that plan and they don't define that path. So there's really two paths in real estate investing that I think a lot of people need to consider and need to think about. And most importantly, it's also how do you want to set yourself up for success on maybe one of those two paths? The first path I want to talk about is really that high growth business phase and that path of business that is thinking along the lines of that book, like I mentioned, 10X is easier than 2X by Dan Sullivan, or the book that we really kind of lean into, which is called Traction by Gino Wickman. And that's really about creating a team, creating systems, being able to scale your business, being able to grow your business, do a lot more volume. I think a big piece of the puzzle for a lot of people is building something that can run without you. I think that's super, super important to think about. Conversely, I want to think about a lifestyle business. And that is something, again, I just started reading this book, and it's called The Lifestyle Business Playbook by Daniel Priestley. I would highly recommend you guys, one of my favorite podcasts to listen to, because I'm always listening both as kind of like a consumer and as a person who's trying to increase my skill and put out better podcasts for you guys listening, is Diary of a CEO by Stephen Bartlett. His podcast is, I think it's one of the top 10 in the world. It's amazing. But Daniel Priestley had an episode here within the last month. So let's call it March of 2026. And I really was, really a lot of what he said resonated with me. And so I got his book. I just started it. So I'll have a recap here. But I think a lot of it bases on freedom, on flexibility, and a very intentional design of how you're creating your business. Along this path, you've got a lot less overhead. You've got a lot less employees. You've got probably way more control over your time, and the business serves your life versus the other way around. I think the thing I also really like about what he's bringing up is how can we integrate AI? We should be doing this at any level of business, no matter which way we're thinking of it. But the lifestyle business, I think there's so many tools with AI that can get you a lot of output, give you a lot of that flexibility, and still be able to make a nice living rather than feeling like you're stuck in the corporate world. The way that I think about this is really neither answer is right. Neither answer is wrong. But I think the problem that a lot of people run into is it's really hard to do both at the same time. And that's where people really get stuck, or really even worse, probably leads to burnout, probably leads to people changing businesses, just being that perpetual, some people call it a serial entrepreneur. A lot of times it's serially people starting businesses, them not going well, getting bored, getting frustrated because they didn't clearly define the path, and then starting something else. And then you're just in this kind of crazy death loop. And so as we kind of think about it again from the lifestyle business perspective or the growth business perspective, it's kind of a mouthful. I want to think of it from a very practical application for those of you listening in the real estate world. I know we've got some folks that are entrepreneurs, people that are in different businesses that listen to the podcast and interact with us at Elevation. Obviously, a lot of people are in our world of real estate investing and real estate brokerage. So let's bring this kind of back to the real estate world. So how would it look like to be in more of that high growth phase and growth style business? I would say you're probably flipping between 10, 20, obviously significantly more properties per year. You probably have a team that does both wholesaling, does flipping, acquisitions, dispositions, transaction management. You've got project managers, you've got contractors that you work with, you've got systems, interior design. Really, it's a lot of those pieces of the puzzle to build a well-oiled machine. And you're probably going to be hitting high 6 figures of revenue, hopefully 7 figures. And I know there's a lot of really successful people out there that are, turning a page to an 8-figure per year annual revenue. And they probably have multiple business verticals. So those are things that you really need to consider when you're thinking about either are you in a high growth real estate business, or more importantly, do you want to start your business and do you want to really lean into that path? If we think about it from a lifestyle investor perspective, that would be where I would call it you'd be doing a handful of deals a year. So I don't want to peg it with an exact number. That might be 1 or 2 people if it's kind of the side hustle. If it's 3, 4, 5, 6 flips a year, you probably have enough to replace your income for at least 1 corporate job, maybe even 2 corporate jobs so that you can completely support your family. You're really being selective whether you want flips or whether you want rentals. In Denver, it's kind of hard to make rentals pencil. So I think a lot of people are leaning into the flip side of things. You're going to have a minimal in-house team. Again, I think the cool thing about this is not only with the evolution of AI, but with so many people being 1099 independent contractors, you can still have a really great, robust lifestyle business. You don't have to have all these people on the payroll. And so my mind goes to, you're going to be outsourcing things. So you're going to have, instead of having in-house acquisitions, you're probably working with other wholesalers and they're sending you deals. Or maybe you're working with real estate agents and they're sending you deals, but they're not on your team. They don't work for you. They're not an employee. Definitely project management. That's a big one. So I always kind of had this internal struggle myself, especially when I was first getting started, which is in-house project management. And that's what we have here at Elevation, both to service our clients and ourselves. Or you can work directly with general contractors. They essentially are your project manager. You're going to pay more for that person than hiring out all the different subcontractors. But there's great value in that. There's great leverage to that, especially when we think about a lifestyle business. And really from that, you think about it, it's more freedom. Again, you don't have that big overhead. I mean, for us, as an example, we've got, I'm spending tens of thousands of dollars a month just on marketing and acquisition so we can get lead gen going for our companies, our clients, and ourselves. And so again, it's like really one is about building the machine and the other is building or maintaining a lifestyle. So again, there's really no right, there's no wrong, but I think it's really just clearly defining what do you want up front and really how do things play out for you in the real estate investment world. So I think something to consider is really where's the big trap? Where do people get this wrong? And how do we see some of these roadblocks coming so you can avoid them in the future? And so I think a lot of people, they say they want freedom, but they build a business that requires them at every single step of the way. So they're always needing to approve things themselves. They're always needing to do everything themselves. And I don't know whether that's maybe somebody feeling like they're kind of a control freak or whether maybe they've gotten burned in the past and they need to be able to delegate a little bit more often. But I think that's, something you really need to think about. So like you're saying you want freedom, but you're just so tightly wound and hands-on for everything you do. Conversely, if you're saying that you want to scale, but you're not hiring employees or you're not working with 1099 folks that are really dedicated towards growing your business and their business. You don't have systems in place. You don't have accountability. You don't have KPIs. So it's really just saying like, oh, I want to scale. And that's such like a hot topic and a hot term that I hear all the time. But if you're not doing those things to enable you to grow bigger, you're going to hold yourself back. You're going to be super, super frustrated. And you're also going to frustrate a lot of those people around you too. So as we kind of summarize this piece of the podcast, it's really thinking of it this way. You can't want a lifestyle business, but have growth behaviors, or vice versa. You can't have growth results and really no lifestyle discipline. And so it's really just thinking about which lane do you want to be in? I think a really good cheat code and a way for you to look at that, this is really what I try to do for myself, is look at your calendar. What does your calendar tell you? And that's really going to tell the whole story of what type of game are you playing or what type of track are you going down. With that being said, I think both whether it's a lifestyle business or whether it's a growth style business is what season of life are you in? I think the other thing is it's not a permanent decision. The way that, I'm recording this podcast right now and we're about to get dumped on by a bunch of snow. in May, which is kind of funny. In Colorado, people are shocked about that, but it's like, it's Mother's Day. It's close to it. It happens every year. But really thinking of it just like the year. What season are we in? And you can be in different seasons of your life, and you can ebb and flow in and out of a specific style of business. But I think the thing you really got to focus on is, what is your long-term vision? So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a roadmap that I think a lot of people end up building into, and kind of hopefully having the best of both worlds, that you're building a business that you want, but you're also really happy with the life that you're living. And so a lot of us really start out in growth mode, in hustle mode. So you're hustling, you're busting your ass, you're working long hours, you're learning, you're failing, you're pushing yourself, and you're hopefully growing your income. And I 100% saw this. I started this myself and had no experience, doing everything myself. And then finally added a project manager to have somebody help me take that piece of the puzzle off my plate. I was still running all the acquisitions. I was working with agents to sell our stuff. Then we brought on a acquisitions manager. And so that helped take pieces of the puzzle off my plate. But in general, most people are, again, starting in that hustle mode, whether it's a side hustle or a true kind of full hustle or full business development plan. Everybody kind of starts in that hustle mode. I think the next thing you can kind of swing towards, which is a cool way to think about it, is how do you optimize, or the optimization or the hybrid mode. So at that point, you have to start implementing systems. You have to start delegating, both internally to people on your team or to different partners that you're working with. So whether it's having a fractional CFO, having a bookkeeper, having 3 or 4 core agents that you work with, or in-house acquisitions or dispositions managers. So it's really about having those systems so that you can rinse and repeat things and not feel like you're always doing things from scratch. Hopefully with that, you've got better education, you've got better experience. So your deals should theoretically be better. At that point, you can kind of double down and keep growing the business and do greater volume. Or I think you can still beat this inflection point, and you can just do the best deals that are for you. If you're hopefully putting away for, retirement, acquiring assets, investing in the stock market, investing in crypto, whatever you do to build long-term wealth, I think that's something you got to think about. But this kind of cool optimization or hybrid stage, of the growth model is something that I think I hadn't really thought about. But when you say it out loud, it seems to make a lot of sense and can get people really where they want, both in the short term and the medium term. So as we think of this third phase, or maybe even this third season of your business life, it's kind of cool because not only from some of the reading that I've done, the research, the podcasts that I've listened to, obviously I'm trying to use AI all the time. So some of the different models that I've been working with to prepare for this episode is actually, one of them spit it out and called it the lifestyle mode. And I thought that was pretty cool because I think you can lean into it both ways. You can lean into the true lifestyle business. And when you've hit this third phase, things are really, really cranking and you can be as busy as you want to. Or you can have other staff members and really have a team behind you so that you can step back from the business a little bit. I think the people that never want anything to do with their business, I don't know, maybe this is controversial, but just sell your business. I guess, again, you could have a great CEO running every aspect, but at that point, I guess, what's the point? If you never want to be involved, I think it's very different than being involved, a day or two a week, or being able to go on a 2 or 3 month trip, but then coming back and being energized and re-engaged. I think that's awesome. So this kind of lifestyle mode is you're working in a very intentional capacity. You really need to dial into what is the highest and best use of your time. So again, think of it from a personal ROI perspective. You should not be the person sending out thank you notes after a closing, or you should not be the person that is doing your general admin and responding to all your basic low-level emails. You should hopefully have fewer inputs. You could potentially have fewer people reporting to you. So you could come up with that, pyramid where they say once you get above 7 people, that's about the most direct reports you want to have to you. So you should have fewer inputs, but you should have stronger outputs because you could have better leverage, whether it's through technology and different AI tools, whether it's working through your employees, working through your 1099. So I think the thing I've been thinking about is you don't have to pick one forever, but you need to really lean into that for whatever phase of life or phase of business that you're in. And you need to understand, what season are you in now? You're not stuck in that season, but I think that you need to think long-term so that you can feel like you're on the correct path rather than being really short-sighted and feeling like, oh my gosh, this isn't going right now. But that doesn't mean you're not on the right path. The other thing I was thinking about when I was putting my notes together for this is that sometimes you're forced to work through really challenging market environments. And I honestly think this is what we've been through over the last 3 or 4 years. So you could have had this great kind of intentionality behind growing a business, having the makings of a lifestyle business where maybe you're willing to step back a little bit, you're bringing in the right staff, or your things are working like a well-oiled machine. And then 2022 hits and interest rates go through the roof, transactions go down. I still think it's 2021. Like, we're in kind of this shitstorm now, quite frankly. And so I think some of the challenges, and it's something that I personally struggle with as well, is that you can have your plan mapped out, but if the market doesn't cooperate, if you will, again, it's not to say you just throw up your hands or say, well, I can't do this. It just might take you longer to get where you want to go. You might have to make some sacrifices. You might have to think really strategically. So you can be super successful in challenging markets, but it might kind of get you in a different season or maybe prolong the season that you're looking at. So as I kind of reflect on this personally, I've been really trying to answer this question. Been very honored to be a part of a pretty high level mastermind. And we had a great 2-day retreat, and we were really diving into these questions and making it very self-reflective. And it's something that it's been on my mind a lot lately. And so for me, I've spent a lot of time in growth mode. I personally don't want to be done growing. I still want to keep building elevation. We want to expand the wholesaling division significantly. We want to do more flips. We've got consulting. We work with hedge funds. But it's really getting my well-oiled team working in unison so that I don't have to be involved in everything. I've been really trying to kind of stress test myself. I don't feel like I'm a micromanager and need to be hands-on. It's all about creating those repeatable systems and training folks up to really kind of fly, on their own with your support or the support of your company. The cool thing is that we've got it being built both on the operations side, since we do have so much in-house, whether it's acquisitions, dispositions, project management, interior design, brokerage. We've got a team at eXp Realty. So we've got a lot of help and we've got a lot of systems, but I'm personally still striving for bigger numbers. And so now what I'm really looking at is, okay, what's my phase of life? What do I want to look at? I think for me, it's this very specific inflection point because I turned 49 in December. So now I've only got a handful of months till I'm 50. The good thing is I don't personally ever want to retire, but I want the way I spend my time to look a little differently. And if we think about the life phase too, it's also that we've got a son who's finishing his sophomore year in college. And he's actually transferring to CSU, so it's kind of funny. He's coming back home from Washington. I've got a daughter who will be up at CU Boulder, so we'll have a nice little in-state rivalry as a freshman this coming fall. And then I've got a daughter who will be a senior in college. And so again, I'm still, pulled and torn myself that I want to keep growing the business, but I want to be able to travel a little more. I want to be able to, visit the kids wherever they're going to school. We love, college athletics, so I want to see football games. I want to do stuff, with the kids and with their friends. I have a feeling our third kiddo, second daughter, will probably go out of state. So we'll see, listen back to this podcast. But I want to be able to have the right team in place to continue to grow elevation, to continue to grow our community, but really dialing into what matters to me and what does my day-to-day look like. So again, you can kind of have the seasons of change, but you can also have financial constraints with that. So again, I might want to have just a little bit more of a lifestyle to be able to be with friends and family, but I also got to pay for really expensive college. So totally like sidetrack here, but we'll probably record another episode about the pros and I'm not even going to say the cons, but just the two different tracks that you can take for saving for kids' college. We started saving at 529 when the kids were 1. I don't know. I might argue that I would have been better off buying a couple of rentals and holding those for 15 years and seeing how things went. So again, you can kind of get into a phase of your life and business, but there might be financial constraints on you because we got to, stroke a check for 6 figures for each kid to go to school. Because I do still think that's worth it in certain respects. So again, as we kind of wind down today, it's all about building something. It's really not one size fits all. It's very different for where you're at in your business, where you're at in your life. But I think it's really being in tune with that. And it's you kind of having those thoughtful times and those thoughtful moments to decide really, what do you want? And so as I think about some practical takeaways, maybe a little bit of homework for you guys, I'd really ask you to answer a couple questions. One, what do you really want? Do you want income? Do you want freedom? Do you want scale? Do you want legacy? Number 2, what season are you in? Are you in build season? Are you in optimize season? Are you in lifestyle season? Where are you at? And more importantly, what is your current business or what's your current actions? How do they match up with that? And I would really tell you and stress to you to audit your calendar. There's another really great book you guys have heard me talk about. It's called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. And he does audits And I've talked to a bunch of colleagues where it's like sit down once a month, whether it's on the first of the month. I've got another buddy who does it on his birth date. So like for me, that's the 19th. So sit down on the 19th of every month and just reflect and say, is this what I want? And am I working towards that goal? I think that's something super, super important. Again, if you're an investor, do you want growth? Do you want to build a team? Do you want more deal flow? Do you want different business verticals? Or do you want that lifestyle? Do you want to focus on quality and not quantity and really keep building key relationships? If you're an agent, maybe that growth means building both your retail or your traditional practice and adding the investor component to it. You need more volume. You need more systems. So we've talked about investors, but for agents, what do you want? Are you thinking that growth path is the way for you? So you're increasing your volume. You're probably doubling down on both traditional real estate and investment real estate. You're creating systems. You've got staff. Lean into AI. There's so many tools that we're going to record many, many episodes here coming up about how can you leverage your business. Or do you want a lifestyle business? Again, is this a side hustle? Do you have a significant other who is able to give you the ability so that you don't have to close an insane amount of transactions? You can do fewer deals. You can have more control of your schedule. I just think it's something you've got to think about and you've got to plan around. As we close out today's episode, it's again, not that you don't need permission to build a lifestyle. And you also don't want to, you don't have to apologize if you want to build a really big, really successful, really lucrative business. There's nothing wrong with it, but you do need clarity. I think that's something that you have to take away from today's episode, because if you don't decide, your business will probably decide for you, and it's probably not the direction that you really want to go if you think down and really think deep down and hard about this. So what I would love to hear is, what are you guys leaning into? What are you doing with your businesses? Please comment, DM us, send me an email. Send an email directly to me. My email is derek@elevationinvest.com. We'll have it in the show notes. I'm really curious to see kind of where you guys at. What are these things that you're leaning into? If you think I'm totally smoking crack and off base, I'm always interested to hear that as well. So I appreciate you guys joining me for this journey. It's been something that I've really been thinking a lot about lately, and I continue to think about. So would love to hopefully see you guys at some of our events coming up. We've got the Elevation Academy on June 3rd. So we've got a $100 off coupon. We'll have that in the show notes as well. But I hope you guys got a lot of value out of today's episode. We've got a lot more coming up. Super excited. Thanks for tuning in today, and we will catch you guys on the flip side.
Elevation, elevation. Flip that house, man, there's money for the making. We gon' get it, hustle harder every day, fam. Sky's the limit, time to make this life amazing.